This course is on long-term and swing trading. So the first thing that you should do is you go to the scanner, and what you do is once you get to the scanner, you will change the settings to 60 and 240 or 240 and 1440. And what this is the 60 is the 1 hour and the 4 hour, or the 4 hour and the daily. And right now at default it's the 15 and the 30. And that's what we'll trade at in the trading room, but this is for longer term trades where you're going to hold from a few hours to a few days. So once you find your pair that you saw in the scanner, you'll have to go to the chart. And just a couple things is you'll have to have 2 exhaustion time frames lined up, and you'll change the exhaustion settings to match those that we just did on the scanner. So I'll go ahead and go to the chart and do that. One thing I want you to remember is this is the exact same strategy that we just learned on the G3 and the R3. The only difference is we're going to be doing it on longer time frames. So you should have that in mind. So we'll go into the indicators list here. You can hit Control I and it'll bring up your scanner, and you click Edit Your Settings, and the settings will show up. And just so you know that this is an older version, I don't have access to the newest version, so it might look a little bit different, but we'll just change the time frame to we'll just do it to 60 and 240, and then we'll change it and we'll click OK, and then you click close, and then it'll reset, and you can see that it changes the pairs. So there's actually a pair here that I wanted to go over right now. Let's see here. And that would be the pound and the CAD. And I actually had called this out on Friday as a potential trade, but we'll go ahead and take a look at the 4 hour. And I'd already changed the settings here. You can see that we're overextended, and this is the old version of this too. So please, I apologize for that. I just didn't have the newer one on hand, and my programmer wasn't available to switch it. But anyhow, you can see that on the daily we're overextended, and on the 4 hour we're overextended. Okay, so we can tell that we're dropping down, and that it's a seriously strong down move. And it's just like the 15 and the 30. On that we're trying to get a few pips. Here we're going to get more pips because we're overextended. And if we go and take a look at some of these, you can see in the past that there had been some long-term setups. They don't happen nearly as often, but when they do, you get a few more pips on it. So this one was not the greatest setup in the world, but it did in fact reverse. So if you would have targeted here, this potential reversal was 230 pips. So obviously that's a few more pips than what we were getting on the other one, because normally we were getting 20. This is 230, much more, and it took a total of 2 days to go because this is a 2-day setup. And so that was one setup that we had, and they don't happen often, but here's another one, which was right up here. Okay, you can see this one, when it finally reversed, again it was 2 days, but this one went 500 pips to the downside. And here is a G3 setup, and this was pretty large. This one was another 500 pips. Okay, so you get the idea on how that works, the same type of thing. So let's go ahead and, since it's a longer term, let's go out to the weekly chart, and we'll zoom out a little bit, and let's see if we can find a support level. So I found this support level and I drew that in. So that would probably be where we would want to put our stop loss. So I would go ahead, and since we have the setup in place, I would probably just take my entry here and maybe add another position down here if it pushed into the resistance or into the support. I'd put my I put my stop loss somewhere down here. So let's just say we put our entry right where we're at. I'd put my stop loss about 250 pips away. Additionally, the way that I would go to the target is I'd go back to the daily, and I'd look for an area of support or previous support that had gotten broken, and I'd probably put that as a potential target. So we can see that this level here was a support level. We could probably put that in play. as a potential level where price may try to go back to. Something else that we could do for a target would be to use a Fibonacci extension. We could go from the swing high to the swing low, and it just so happened that it's the 23 extension is pretty close to that same level there, and or we could drop it to this swing high if we didn't want to wait quite as long and put it right here. You can see that this 23-point extension is about 350 pips, and you can use things like that as your target, and that will help you for a long-term trade to try to catch a bounce on this particular position. But that's how this works on a longer time frame. Pretty much the exact same thing that we had on the shorter time frames, except here you're going to be waiting longer for the trade to play out, and it's going to be bigger targets, and you're going to have bigger stop losses. But overall, it's the same idea on using the scanner. And so don't forget to take the quiz below this video, and in the next one we're going to go ahead and talk about how to use these setups to trade with the trend, which is a really exciting type of setup.